Daniel Black, they call me Dan. I finished my Navy career as an E5. I was a sonarman. One of the things I found while I was in there is that the officers were making a lot more money. They had certainly better quarters and things like that, so I figured I'm going to go to college because that's the only thing that they had that I didn't. Mostly all the college graduates, and I went in the Navy right out of high school. So I started going to school, and I went. Took me several years, but I finally did. So then I had a second career and went to work for the Internal Revenue Service, and at that time was the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax Division of the Internal Revenue Service, and subsequently became the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Bureau in the Treasury Department, separated out from the Internal Revenue Service. That's the agency that was responsible for enforcing all of the prohibition laws back in the days of prohibition. At the same time, as a young inspector, we were responsible for protecting the revenue of somewhere in the neighborhood of between 14 and 20 billion dollars of revenue. And this was at distilleries where you had thousands of barrels of whiskey that were stored with the tax on a barrel at over $1,000 a barrel. So there's a lot of tax involved. So we were responsible for that, as well as the cigarette taxes. And then in 1968, the Gun Control Act of '68 went into effect, which changed the gun control in this country to a great extent. And ATF became the primary agency then to try to enforce the gun laws. Not popular with most people, but nonetheless, it's, you know, as a member of a federal agency, you're required to enforce the laws as Congress passes them. That's one of the toughest things that people can't understand. Why are these agencies doing what they're doing? Well, they're doing it because Congress passed a law and says do it. And oftentimes, that was a Congress that's not in effect at that time, you know, so it's another Congress that's saying, we don't like what you're doing. Well, if you don't like it, then you're going to change the law. But, so I had a 30-year career with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. I retired in 1996 as deputy director. And of course, we had some very historical and tragic episodes during my career, including Waco, which was tragic in many, many ways because we lost 4 good agents and we had 20 people that were injured in a raid at a compound down in Waco, Texas, in which the agents were surprised because they didn't expect a firefight. The individual that had that compound down there, the Branch Davidians, they were stockpiling guns and ammunition and grenades and all of the things that were illegal at the time, and our agents knew it was that way. The fact that they had lots of women and children in there was probably incidental to the fact that we went in there trying to serve a search warrant to confiscate those guns. And these were automatics and semi-automatics. These were guns that were illegal at the time. But anyway, it turned out to be, as most people understand, it was a tragic situation, the way Waco ended. But I'd have to say that both careers were very exciting, very challenging. And I think that you can have a military career and you can also have a civilian career, as lots of us do.